This is Muskogee Media, and this is the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, also known by its regular name, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease, a disease that affects 5,600 Americans each year, and right now, more than 30,000 Americans are living with this disease. We're trying to bring awareness to all this, and as Muskogee Media, we've been called out by reintegration. We'll get you back for this reintegration, but now we're going to take the challenge and we're calling out the entire Chiefs building, we're calling out Tourism and Recreation, and we're calling out the Citizenship Office. So you guys ready?
Ready.
Let's do it! Down my shorts. Oh. And there you have it. Now let's get ready for Native News Today.
Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your #1 source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm Jason Salzman, your host, and we're not in Muskogee Media Studios there in Okmulgee today, as you can see. We're out on the Philip Deere Roundhouse place out here, just a little bit east of Okemah, and as you can see behind me, the Muskogee Creek Nation welcoming the 40th anniversary of the first International Indian Treaty Council started by Mr. Philip Deere. We're going to have a lot on this this week, and we'll actually be doing the show from out here. So glad for them having us, everybody out here being welcoming, letting Native News Today come out and film. You know, it's been a very, very big week around the tribe, around Indian country for Native News Today. We not only will spotlight this here today, we'll talk about the building of this facility, the Philip Deere Roundhouse, that will now be able to be enjoyed for generations of Muskogee Creeks. But we'll also go to the Corn Conference there, the second annual Indigenous Peoples Corn Conference happening in Okmulgee. We'll have a little bit of that for you there. We'll talk to Principal Chief George Tiger, National Council member Mr. Mark Randolph about this Philip Deere Roundhouse, what it took to get it built, the Muskogee Creek Nation's pride in this facility. That and a little bit more from COEDA, a groundbreaking for our new food distribution center there. So a lot of great things happening in and around the tribe for us to cover this week on Native News Today. We've got a great show for you out there, so don't go anywhere. Get set down and get comfortable. We'll be right back after this first break.
Momesh Harishongigo Imongin Hobidagi Ani Omaga Bomaha Hoye Imongin Oma Bonchomegigosh. For more information about Muskogee language preservation, please call us at 918-732-7724.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Muskogee Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the Turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. So give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary.
For 3 years, kids have been asking their parents, what is that hill on the river going to be? What answer did you give?
Did you tell them that someday that half-finished structure will be one of America's most important attractions, bringing visitors from around the country and the world to Oklahoma,
along with hundreds of millions of dollars into our economy?
There'll be state-of-the-art interactive displays that bring to life the stories, history, and culture of the 39 tribes that share this state.
A 210-acre landscape park and trail system. Beautiful retail and business space.
This will be another jewel in the crown of our state's tourism industry.
and it will pay eternal tribute to the origin of our great state.
It's not a matter of whether we can afford to complete it. We simply can't afford not to.
For the current generation of Oklahomans and the generations to come, let's finish it.
Let's finish it.
Let's finish it.
We are thinkers and readers.
We are dreamers.
We are doers and sharers.
To honor all things that make our Muskogee Creek Nation strong, we present you with the opportunity to expand your literature and the literature of our children.
Log on to MyOn to read books in English and Muskogee. We are Muskogee Nation, and we are readers.
The Heart of America Farm Show is coming to the Tulsa RV Ranch. Mark your calendars September 18th through the 20th. There'll be something for everyone. Over 8,000 in prizes given away. And admission's totally free. Saturday night, the Muskogee Creek Nation and the Tulsa RV Ranch present the Heart of America PRCA Rodeo. The action kicks off with a pre-show at 6 and the rodeo at 7. Tickets available now for just $10 at TulsaRVRanch.com. For more details on weekend festivities, visit HOAFarmShow.com. We'll see you at the ranch.
We believe if you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. We believe that transitioning convicted citizens back into our communities enhances public safety. We believe that every citizen, even ex-prisoners, are important and are capable of change. We believe in reclaiming our citizens and investing them back into a culture that embraces healing and restoration.
We believe
in reintegration.
And welcome back to Native News Today out here at the Philip Deere Roundhouse again for the 40th anniversary of the International Indian Treaty Council making the conference, and lots of people out in this beautiful new roundhouse. And I'll tell you what, this place wouldn't be standing up today if it wasn't for my next guest. I want to bring in Mr. James Allred. He is the construction engineer with Muskogee Creek Nation Tribal Construction. James, thanks for being with us today.
Sure, thank you.
James, actually, you and your crew charged with putting this roundhouse up. So I know for you being Muskogee Creek, it's got to be extra meaningful than maybe a lot of other construction projects you've been involved in over the years. But tell us a little bit about you guys building this and what it meant to you.
Yeah, it really was. It really did mean a whole lot because, you know, the typical way construction is now, you know, you generally try to hire a contractor to come in and build it for you. But I was pretty proud of the fact that we built this with all Muskogee Creek citizens. We have a couple of apprentices in the tribal construction department that helped me throughout the week, and the project managers, when they were didn't have slack time on other projects, they'd come out here and help us put up these. And I like to thank those guys. There's guys from Force Account that come on and volunteer their time on the weekends, and during the weekends I had youth come out here. My two younger sons and also a couple of young individuals I coach, the Ramos brothers, Jeremiah and Kobe. Also, they're all young Muskogee Creek citizens that they would come out and they made pretty good hands for young guys, and they really enjoyed having a part of it. And it's good to have the youth involved in a project like this. And when I explained to them what it was about and what we were commemorating, they really got excited about it. And it was just a fun project to do, and I was glad to be fortunate enough to be involved in it.
So neat that, you know, like you said, all Muskogee Creek citizens and even family, you know, your sons, that's very neat too. But what we were talking about earlier that kind of struck me that was so neat is the authenticity of the location. I mean, you even talked about a rock signifying the center, and that's what you guys built from.
Yeah, Bonnie Deere, his sister, had a rock that was placed in the center of the original location of the original roundhouse. And so that gave us a location, and we made that the exact same center of the new roundhouse and built around it accordingly.
That's incredible. You know, you come out here, it's a place for community to come together, place to meet and everything like that. For you, I think that also, you know, this is just one of those things where you guys are charged with putting up something that's going to be meaningful for the tribe for years and years and years. And at Tribal Construction, that's really what, you know, is special about that department, I would say, rather than working for Manhattan or somebody like that, to where, you know, you're doing buildings, but maybe they don't mean as much, but that's got to be added.
Oh, absolutely. You know, since I've come into this department, it really means something to be able to do something for your people and try to help look out for their interest in regards to all the projects that we have going on, and this was extra special because it is significance to our traditional ways. And but I've enjoyed being there and doing this type of work for our tribe.
Absolutely, and you're always doing some type of work. So with that in mind, we'll let you get going, James. Thank you so much. Always good to see you, old friend.
Appreciate it.
And not old in age, but just we've been friends for a while, is what I mean. But always good to see you, and have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
All right, James Allred, Tribal Engineer of Construction here at the Muskogee Creek Nation, responsible for putting up this great facility, this great structure, incredible work, and something that we'll have for generations to come in the Muskogee Creek Nation. Philip Deer and the Roundhouse, as we said, 40-year anniversary of the International Indian Treaty Conference happened right here, the first one, 40 years ago. With that in mind, we wanted to put together a special little feature on what went into the Muskogee Creek Nation making this possible, from the executive level, Muskogee Creek Nation Principal Chief, the legislative level, our National Council, all working together to make it happen, and a little bit about Philip Deer, the man himself, for those of you out there that don't know. Just an incredible Muskogee Creek citizen, orator, traditionalist, and somebody that I think all Creeks should know.
I felt important that the Roundhouse be done now. It was important that the Muskogee Creek Nation have a part of that project. It's important that we continue the legacy of people like Philip Deer, Chito Harjo, men that stood up for the rights of our people, some on a local basis, but in Philip's particular perspective, it was on a global setting. And I know it was kind of ironic, and I chuckled, and no disrespect, but some of our council members didn't know who Philip Deer was. And I remember one saying, well, I Googled him. I did not know that he had done these things. And I know the other issue was, well, it's not on tribal property. I can say that, we've done things in the past where we funded community swimming pools, we funded other things, and there were no tribal property. But in this particular case, I had it on my heart. And I told his family when it failed the first time that I was going to bring it back, but we were going to take a little different approach at it. And I knew that if we took another approach at it, it would pass, and fortunately it did.
I was approached by Bonnie Deer, and he asked me if I'd be willing to sponsor the legislation. And right off I was honored, and I thought of the name Philip Deer, and I used to read everything I could get my hands on about him. And when I went off to school and all that, then I got a job in southern Arizona for the Fort McDowell Indian community. I was able to travel, a lot of places. And wherever I went, when I said I was Muskogee Creek, then right off they would say, Philip Deer, And he was so well known among all the other Native nations. And I realized, him being an ambassador for all Native people. I read and the stories I heard about what he stood for, and the knowledge and of the prophecies and the original teachings, our grassroots, movement and culture, then that's why I wanted to sponsor the legislation.
I've always maintained that the reason that we have a lot of things that we have here, not only with Muskogee Creek Nation, but with other tribes, is because of people like Philip Deer. They were referred to during that era as radical people, but throughout the history of tribes and throughout the history of this country, it was people like that allowed for concerns and issues to be brought to the general population's attention. And Philip was one of those types of people. But he did it in a manner that I think a lot of people today have a hard time grasping. He did it in a traditionally cultural way, which I've always maintained is the best way. Sometimes we are not all understanding of our tradition and culture and how important that it plays in what we do, as well as in tribal government, in business today as Indian people. It's merely the opportunity to express yourself in a way that people see. That's the way we've always done it as Muskogee people, Muskogee.
That's one of the main reasons. I like the idea of the Roundhouse and the, I would say the true definition of community, what community really is, and that's including everyone. It's inclusive, it's not exclusive. I see a lot of times now in some of our chartered communities to where you know, people are excluded, and then we have our elders group, and we have our young people's group, and we have our children's group. And I think it takes away from the teachings of family and unity and community. And so for this movement to start, I think it's something that we really need as a nation. It's something that is going to benefit all our age groups, and it's going to be a beautiful place to gather.
I had an opportunity, actually, being from a media background, to interview him. He was probably one of the most articulate, most, I guess, recognized voice of not only Muskogee, but other tribes as well. And doing a one-on-one interview, basically, I do what you guys do. I just set up a camera, sit where you're sitting, and I said, let's have a conversation. And we did. And the neat thing about it was he and I could have a conversation in our traditional tongue. And we'd laugh, and you know, it meant so much for me to be able to interview him because we shared a parallel in some ways. You know, when he says, we will always be Indian. If you're Indian, you're an Indian. We'll always be Indian. And he meant that. And he took that message on a global setting. He was probably one of my best interviews I've ever done. And I wish today that I had that interview, and unfortunately, because it was done at a TV station, as you know, that they don't always keep a lot of those things. And so Philip was just a great interview. He talked about why it's important for Indian people to take a stand, why it's important for Creek citizens to continue doing what we're doing, maintaining our language, practicing our traditions, continue with our traditional churches. You know, those are important things to him. Everything he did, he always reached back and grasped what he was taught growing up. He always respected his elders. He learned from his elders. And that's one thing I remember him sharing with me. There'll be a day, and I can just hear him say this, there's going to be a day when our tradition and our culture, because of our following generations not understanding, will not carry it on. And to some degree, I see that today as Principal Chief. I see that happening. And it saddens me that those things, you know, are happening. He foreseen that. You know, he had a vision. I've always said that our strongest leaders have always been those that didn't have an elected position. Our strongest leaders were visionary people, and Philip Deere was one of them.
These local cities, Okmulgee, Henrietta, Okemah, they're filled with Indians and these little brick homes where you cannot make no garden, you can't do nothing there but sit around in there, and as long as you got a job, a little income, you'll be paying on that home. But when there is no money, when there is no jobs, there's only one place that they can go and survive, is come back home.
You know, it's such a big week in Indian country, and not just because of what's going on out here at the Roundhouse with the IITC conference, but also what's going on back in Okmulgee, the capital city of our Creek Nation, the second annual Indigenous Peoples Corn Conference. This is an incredible conference happening at the same time as this one. So people from all over the world coming in, different indigenous cultures, talking about corn, one of the most sacred foods in our cultures and indigenous people. And the Muskogee Food Sovereignty Initiative really does a good job of making sure that we know about our traditional foods. We want to cultivate our traditional foods, keep young people in mind of eating our traditional foods, having a good lifestyle in that way, and keeping everything, you know, rightly Muskogee Creek, from our foods to our language to the way that we interact with one another. So it's a great thing with all of these people being there at the Dome this week for the Corn Conference. We talked with Stephanie Berryhill, Muskogee Food Sovereignty Initiative, about this great event.
The Muskogee Food Sovereignty Initiative, along with the International Indian Treaty Council, is holding the second International Indigenous Peoples Corn Conference. The first conference was held in Oaxaca, Mexico. And so we're very, you know, honored and very happy to be involved in putting on a conference which is addressing, you know, issues related to indigenous corn really from an international perspective. We have speakers that are from Mexico. We have a delegation of Yaqui people from Mexico, as well as U.S. citizens who are Yaqui, including Andrea Carmen, who's the executive director of IITC. We also have a speaker from Maori, New Zealand, and so definitely, you know, the significance of corn among indigenous peoples is an issue that is so important and connects indigenous peoples, you know, throughout the planet. And so some of the issues that we're talking about are challenges to protecting corn as well as indigenous food systems. There's also a focus on coming up with answers to protect corn in indigenous food systems, as well as establishing food sovereignty zones. And definitely, from a broader perspective, we're talking about the spiritual, cultural, and nutritional significance of corn to indigenous peoples, and that, you know, that corn has a rightful place in this world in terms of the nutrition that it can offer to all of us, to humanity. You see where it's an issue of a population of growers who are becoming older and can no longer, don't have the stamina to do it. There are also issues of land access, that not everyone that wants to grow food has access to land, convenient access to grow food. And there's also definitely that traditional knowledge and that kind of skill, having the skills, having the knowledge. You know, if you want to learn and you don't have access to, or that wasn't passed down through your family, then you know, there's that kind of barrier for some people. And in terms of cooking this food, I mean, that's an issue too, is that if we are not preparing this and serving it on tables, then it's kind of like, you know, language. If you don't use it, you know, then you know, you do lose it. It's a type of loss. So those are some of the issues that are really, in terms of MFSI and our advocacy, those are some things that we're really mindful of in terms of our approach to revitalizing foodways like Muskogee Indian pumpkin and you know, the Sofkey drink, is that you have to also teach people, young people, how to prepare these foods, because they could have it, you know, on the table, but, you know, in whole food form, they can't access it if they don't know how to prepare it.
Lots of things happening in and around the Muskogee Creek Nation these last few weeks. We've had a lot of groundbreakings, a lot of exciting news. As we talk about new things going up, new things to talk about, great services being provided to our people. That certainly brings us to our next story in Coweta, Oklahoma. Right there at the Coweta, our beautiful Coweta Health Facility, right next to it, the groundbreaking for a new food distribution center. So happy and excited to pass this along. That's an area there that it's greatly needed. A lot of people are going to be able to access that. We've got a high number of citizens in the Coweta area, Muskogee Creek citizens, that won't now have to drive clear to Altmalgee to get food distribution, pick up commodities, things like that, so can do it right there in Coweta. And it's going to just be a great place. You know, the food distribution centers, they're not just warehouses anymore where you put boxes in your car. They're basically like small supermarkets in and around the Muskogee Creek Nation. So we were so happy to be there on a great day with lots of dignitaries to announce this new great place.
Well, we've come a long ways. For someone to have served with Chief Cox as an employee, and I can remember actually the journey, if you will, of having a very first food distribution program being operated by an Indian tribe here in the state of Oklahoma. We've come from there to what we see today. It kind of follows our script, if you will. providing services and tribal government going out to the people we serve, instead of people having to come to Okmulgee or some other facility. Well, we believe it's easier to bring these services to the people, and this is a good example, and it's been a long day coming, and we're very proud of it. Anna Wright, who's our manager of our food distribution, ironically is the granddaughter of Chief Cox. She's had this vision, and we've shared the same vision, and we see a couple other places that'll be more regionalized in terms of providing a food distribution program to our citizens. It's the most populated area that actually receives the services from food distribution. Numbers-wise, I would say it's probably top 2 or 3 in terms of population, because of being close to the metropolitan Tulsa area, being close to Muskogee. So it's going to be used quite a bit, and we're real pleased with that. You know, when I first came in as principal chief, Anna came to me about this vision she had, and we've always shared the same vision, and we were able to get the process started, and of course with the appropriations from our National Council, our legislative body, working with us, we're able to see today come to fruition.
You know, we had talked about this when he first came into office, and he said, where's the need? And the need, this area is growing by leaps and bounds, which you can see by the community, the health center here. We were already servicing right now over 300 families. And out of those 300 families, they could only have the choice of picking up their food once a month through a tailgate site. So to have this store concept here, that they can come over, you know, they don't have to drive to Okmulgee if they miss the one day a month. They're going to be able to come here and shop just like they went down the street to the grocery market. When is it going to be completed? When is it going to be done? We literally get calls every week now, you know, especially since it's been in the paper. They've noticed some movement out here. They're like, when's it going to be done? When are we going to get to shop? So very excited. The people they have just tremendous support, and I only see those numbers growing.
Well, that'll wrap up another episode of Native News Today. We certainly hope that you've been enjoyed being with us out here at the Philip Deere Roundhouse as we celebrate 40 years of the International Indian Treaty Conference, the International Indian Treaty Council, co-founded by Mr. Philip Deere. What a great Muskogee Creek citizen, somebody that kept the core traditional values of the Creek people in his heart and definitely wanted to share that with his brothers and sisters and everybody out there, educate them a little bit on our tribal people and what we are as Muskogee Creek. So it's a great thing for Native News Today to be out here today at the Roundhouse to celebrate this 40th anniversary. We really enjoyed being at the Corn Conference this week too. I want to thank Stephanie Berryhill, all the good people at Muskogee Food Sovereignty Initiative. What a great thing in Coweta coming up, the Food Distribution Center. That was neat for us to be able to cover the groundbreaking and talk a little bit about the great need that's there in the Coweta area for our citizens to be able to just go right up the road and receive their tribal services. It's a great thing, and the tribe's really doing that in a lot of places too. I want to thank you all for joining us this week. We love it when you join us right here on Tulsa CW 1219. But if you can't join us here, always go to our YouTube channel. Go and search Native News Today. Go to our YouTube channel. You can see all our videos each week if you're out of our viewing area. Also, you can go to our Facebook page, search Native News Today, get you right there. And also at Native News Guys on Twitter. Follow us throughout the week. For Tyler Roberts, Jared Moore, myself, everybody here, we'll see you guys next week.